They're here, everyone. They are the smart kids at the shops with their mothers or fathers, riding their bikes around the streets and playing down by the river, as well as talking to their friends on their smartphones. Join the smart kids each week as they discover, explore, and solve the mysteries of today. Here's your host, JT Crowley.
Hello. Welcome to the lessons. Now, I said I'm going to do different things over the next few podcasts, and so I am. And I said to you that I'm going to show you how I create the stories. Now, I'm going to write another 5 characters, the Nordic characters. I said to you my last podcast is they're going to be from Iceland, they're going to be from Norway, Finland, Denmark, the Nordic countries, and Sweden. So, but the first little character is going to be my Icelandic character. And I'm going to talk you through the stages as to how I build a story, how I create a story. So here we go. So it's how to create a story with me, JT Crowley, and a little smiley face. The first thing that I do is I create the main character. And when you create a main character, you need to think of quite a few things. And so I've given you an idea of what I think about when I come up with the characteristics of the main character. So I'm going to go through them and talk to you guys about what to think about when you're creating your main character. So this first session of lessons is all about creating the main character. So this character that I'm creating now is going to be my Icelandic character. And so the first thing I do is I create the main character. And for that, you need to consider the following. 1. What is the sex of the character? Is it going to be a boy? Is it going to be a girl? Or a transgender character? The second thing I think of is the age of the character. That's important. And more importantly, thirdly, age appropriate. So if you are like me, you're writing for kids, age range 8 to 13, well, the main character really needs to be the same age of the readers. So the characters need between the age of 8 and 13. That's what I do with my books. The main characters are that age range. They are age appropriate to the readers so that the reader can, correlate with them, react with them, becomes friends with the characters because they identify them as the same age as themselves. So that's what you need to do. Is if you're writing a kid's book, your character needs to be of child age. So if you're writing for 8 to 13-year-olds, characters need to be 8 to 13. That's the main character. Next thing I think of is the name of the character. Now, this is going to also depend. The name's going to depend on, it should reflect the country where your character is. So in this situation, your character is going to be Iceland, so I'm looking for an Icelandic name. And what I do is that I go on Google search and I put in Icelandic names, boys, because I've decided what the character is going to be, and have a look at the names and have a look at them and say, oh, I like that, I like this. But so the name should reflect the country of origin and the culture of the character that you're going to have. That's very important. Number 5. What family does the character have? You need to think about that as well. Does your character have a mum and dad? Does your character have mum and mum, 2 mums or 2 dads? Or does your character, is your character from a single parentage background? Or are you going to have your main character being brought up by the grandparents or Is your main character adopted? So it's an adopted family. Or are they being fostered? So it's a foster family. All these things that you can play around and you can create and you can have fun with, building up the main character. And this is what I do. So, mum and dad, dad, mum, brothers and sisters. Now, does the character have brothers and sisters? Are those siblings, are they older or are they younger? All things just to play with. You can make them up, you can toy with things, you can do all sorts of things. But this is all about setting the goal for the main character, setting that character up, because that's very important. So, let's go on my next, what I think of next. Does the character have friends? And that's what you need to give them. Because you need to give that character some friends. And it can either be the same sex or a different sex. That's entirely up to you to choose. But you've got to balance that out. You've got to think about that. But so does the character have friends? And it's very important that you give them their friends, because those friends can support the main character throughout your story. Very important. 7. What does your character look like? Is your character going to be tall, skinny, plump, short? What skin tone are you going to give your character? And again, but that would come back to country of origin and culture and ethnicity. So you've got to think about that as well. So, and then, what colour hair is your character going to have? Are you going to give your character red hair, brown hair, sandy hair? Is it going to be straight hair or curly hair? Are you going to give your character glasses? Does your character going to have a disability of any kind? So this is all about building up the main character, painting that picture. Because you've got to paint the main character in your mindset first before you start even putting pen to paper. You've got to create the character, and it's great fun doing it. You can play around with it, and this is I have brown hair, sandy hair. But what you've also got to understand is that, again, this could be different cultures. Some cultures don't have red hair, some don't have brown hair, some don't have sandy hair. So if you've got a black character, well, red, brown, sandy hair isn't going to be, the right thing, and your readers will pick that up. So you have to be careful. But so you can have a lot of fun creating the main character, but you've got to be realistic. Number 8. What type of personality do you want your main character to have? Now, for me, with the main character, your main character has got to be a very strong character. It's got to be the strongest character in the story. So is your character going to be feisty, shy, cool, loud? But just bear in mind what I just said. Main character needs to be a strong, dominant character, because they are carrying the storyline. Another little important thing is, what does your character wear? What are you going to give them to wear? Because that's, again, it's important. So, again, what your character wears will depend on the country of origin where you put them, and again, the ethnicity and the culture of the character. And what you've got to also make, is be realistic. And here, what your character wears, well, if your character is, say, like the one I'm going to do now, is in Iceland, and you've set the story in late spring, so it's still cold. So your character isn't going to be wearing t-shirts, isn't going to be in shorts, isn't going to be in sandals. The character is going to be in a coat, a warm jumper, a scarf, gloves, boots, because there's snow around. If you've put your character, say, in the Middle East or in Africa, Well, and it's the middle of summer. They're not going to be wearing duffel coats. They're not going to be wearing, warm trousers. They're going to be in t-shirts and shorts. And again, depending which country they're from, they'll be in their own style of dress from that country. And you've got to research it, look it up, and think about it. The character has to be realistic, because your readers will pick up on it and it won't add value to your story. So that's what I do. This is what I think about things. You can have great fun doing this, but you've got to think about it. You've got to be realistic. Is it real? Because that's very, very important. Next thing I think about is, what colour are the clothes? Now, you can have great fun doing this, but it is, again, it's important. Do you have a black duffel coat, or is the character going to wear a yellow t-shirt, an orange t-shirt, or are they going to wear a bright coloured dress, or are they going to wear a patterned dress, or plain dress, or trousers? Brown, yellow. You can play with this. Have fun with it, but be realistic. And number 11, does your character have a pet? Lots of characters in books, they have pets. And so, what type of pet? Is it going to be a dog? Is it going to be a cat? Is it going to be a mouse? Is it going to be a hamster? Remember, these are kids' stories that I'm writing, so there'll be kids' pets. And again, you've got to be honest and realistic. No point saying they're going to have a tiger, well, because they just can't have one. They're wild animals, and it's not really believable. So the type of animal that your character is going to have, for my books, is it's going to be like a domestic animal, a dog or a cat, or as I said, a hamster, or a sheep, or a pig, something like that. So, what type? What breed? You can tell the reader that. What name are you going to give the pet? That's just as important. And again, is it male or female? Number 12, what school does your character go to? This is all about building up the character, telling the reader about the characteristics of this great character you're about to write about. What hobbies does your character have? What interests, what hobbies? That's also important. And then, you can have, say for another one here is number 14 here, what house do they live in? No point in saying they live in an igloo and your character is in the Sahara Desert. That isn't going to work. Again, you've got to come back and be realistic. So, houses and buildings in cold countries will be made different to those in hot countries. And you've got to think about it. So go online, go onto the internet, go and have a look at the houses where those characters come from, the countries you put them in. Go and see what the houses are like. Go and search them. Are they 2-story, 3-story? Are they, say like in the Nordic countries, the houses, they tend to be very brightly coloured. Red and yellow and blue, and they might be barn-like shaped. So there's a whole variety of things for you to think about when you're creating this main character. Have fun, but be realistic. So, I've given you some of the ideas that I use to create the main character. And once you've done that, what you need to do is that you need to write down those characteristics on a piece of paper so that you created the character, you've got all the details there. Because if you alter that and you put in there saying that, you put down as the main that he wears a black duffel coat, but you then go and switch that colour to brown, or you change the colour of the scarf to sort of from orange and blue to blue and black because you've forgotten what the colour was, reader's going to pick that up and your credibility is going to go out the window. So you need to get all the characteristics down on a piece of paper and stick to those characteristics. Stick with everything. Because that's very important, because the readers will pick that up if you deviate and make an error. Believe you me. So, here's the basics for your main character. Now, what I'm going to do is that I said to you that the next set of story is going to be my Icelandic character. So, let's turn the page over and see how it comes out, how I've created it. Okay, so this is going to be my main character of my new. So the main characters of my new character are as follows. This character is from Iceland. So I've decided that the main character is going to be a boy. I've decided that his age is 12. Is it age appropriate? Yes, it is age appropriate because I write for 8 to 13-year-olds. So he's in the 12. He's in that age bracket, so it's appropriate. Family. I give him a mum and a dad, and he's got 2 elder sisters. So he's the youngest of the family. Name. I have called the character Aldeward. Now, in Icelandic, that means noble guardian. So it's a strong name. Because your character and your main character needs to have a strong name, a strong character. It's a strong name. And where do I get the name? As I said, I just go on the internet, search Icelandic boys' names, Icelandic, and have a look, scroll down and have a look at all the names and go, I like that one, don't like that, don't like that, I'll keep that one. And then I decide as to what to call the character. In this situation, I've gone for Aldeward. I think it's great, don't you? Friends. I said to you, your characters need friends. So I have given Aldeward 2 friends. And they're 2 boys. And so he's got Haldor, is one of his friends. Now, in Icelandic, that means thunder god. Again, another strong meaning to that name. And then Fana, snow warrior. So here's the main character, and here are 2 supporting characters. Now, I will talk to you next week, about supporting characters, because that is very, very, very important. So, Aldeward, what's he look like? Now, this is where you've got to do your research. So he's an Icelandic character. Now, when I looked at the research on the internet, Icelandic people, they come from the northern Germanic people. And they tend to be tall, blonde, blue-eyed, slim, well-built. Like the Vikings, from Norway, from all around there, they're Nordic countries. So this is what your main character needs to be looking like. There is no point in saying to the character, he's from Iceland, well, he's a totally different background, the character's black. It doesn't reflect right, it's not right, so you've got to think about that as well. So for Aldeward, I said he's tall, he's skinny, he's blonde, he's blue eyes, he's got straight hair, he doesn't wear any glasses, and he's got no disabilities. Again, think about your character, if your character's going to have a disability. Clothes. I gave him a black duffel coat. I've given him a brown jumper, a wool hand-knitted jumper with fair isle patterns on it. I've given him an orange woolly hat with a pom-pom. I have given him multicoloured Nordic socks. I've given him tan-coloured walking boots. I've given him an orange and blue striped scarf. I've given him blue Nordic pattern gloves. And I've given him black insulated fleece-lined trousers. Because you'll see that I've set the story. It's in Iceland, it's in early spring, so it's still cold, there'll probably be snow, so it's going to be wrapped up. Another cheeky one here. I've given him an iPhone 8. That's the phone he's got. Pet. Done the research. Found out there is a dog in Iceland called the Iceland sheepdog. So I've given Aldeward an Icelandic sheepdog as a pet, and I've given the name Magnus. So the dog is called Magnus. So can you see how this is building up? Personality. He's strong, he's determined, he is outgoing. So the character Aldeward is a strong character because it's my main character of this story. School. Well, he goes to the local school in the fishing village where he lives. Now, I haven't covered this bit off yet, where he lives precisely in Iceland. I will cover that off next week because that's all part of the setting and the plots. So that's coming down the line, and you'll see why. And interests. I have said he likes fishing because in Iceland they do a lot of fishing and there's a lot of fishing villages, so that's why he likes fishing. He is a sporty person. And I've said criminology. Why have I put that there? Well, wait and see why he's got an interest in that. You say, oh, that's odd. But when you see the story eventually being written, you'll see why. Because he needs to have an interest in criminology. So, can you see, guys, girls, how I create the stories? So, create the character of the story, the main character. And all that I've said to you about, how I create them, I have then transported across to show you how I have built the character, my Nordic Icelandic boy, for the next story. I've used all the categories and the classifications, what I've said to you, and here they are for my Nordic Icelandic boy. Next week, or the next podcast, I'm going to talk to you about the triangle of characters that I use, sub-characters, floating characters, things like that to add to your story. And then probably the one after that, I'll probably go on to the plots, the formula that I use, how you go about things. So there's quite a lot to think about and create when you're writing, building a story. Your characters, your plots, your theme, all the ins and outs, and all the little intricate bits. All these bits add up to make an exciting story, and this is what I'm doing. So I hope you're finding it very, interesting to see how I've built the main character, how I use it, and I hope it's going to be good for you. Now, if you've got any queries, you want to talk to me, you want to contact me, you can do that from my email address, jtc0658@gmail.com. Go on, email me and saying, I want to write a story. This is my character, what do you think? You can send it to me, I'll look at it. But hopefully this has given you an idea as to how to go about creating a main character. So, till next week, stay safe, have fun, just like my characters. This is my little Icelandic boy. And I'm going to do it for all the other characters as well. How I build up the main characters, the stories, the plots, the formulas, how I do it. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. Stay safe.
Thanks for listening to The Smart Kids. Want to follow more of their adventures? Check out The Smart Kids by JT Crowley on Amazon.com now.